Captain America Civil War explores the complex dynamics between two of its most iconic heroes, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. The film introduces a moral and political divide as the Avengers are forced to confront the Sokovia Accords, a government initiative designed to regulate their actions. While both sides present valid points, it is the scene about the death of Tony's parents that influences people to ultimately side with Tony. Before the revelation about Bucky, Captain America's position against the Sokovia Accords was the best stance. Steve Rogers, a man who values freedom and individual choice, recognized that the Accords would limit the Avengers' autonomy, turning them into instruments of government control. He feared that this would compromise the very ideals that the team stood for, and having seen firsthand the dangers of government interference, his rejection of the Accords felt not only reasonable, but rooted in personal experience.
If someone dies on your watch, you don't give up.
Who said we're giving up?
We are for not taking responsibility for our actions.
If we sign this, we surrender our right to choose. It's run by people with agendas, and agendas change.
Steve was right in believing that autonomy and personal accountability were crucial elements in maintaining the Avengers' integrity. His resistance to the Accords spoke to a broader theme of freedom versus control. However, the turning point in the film occurs when Tony Stark learns the truth about his parents' deaths at the hands of Bucky Barnes. This revelation is crucial because it personalizes the stakes for Tony Stark in a way that no prior argument could. Up until this point, Tony and Steve had disagreed on principle, but their conflict was abstract, grounded in ideological differences. What Tony learns, however, is far more personal and painful. In a devastating moment, Tony realizes that Bucky Barnes, whom Steve has defended and treated as a friend, is the very person who killed his parents. The weight of this discovery shatters Tony's understanding of his relationship with both Steve and Bucky, transforming the ideological battle into a deeply emotional one.
What is this?
Did you know? Yes.
This moment is critical because it introduces a raw, human element into the debate, one that transcends the logical arguments for and against the Accords. Tony's pain, grief, and sense of betrayal cloud his judgment. His willingness to fight against his former ally, Steve Rogers, is no longer purely about the Sokovia Accords, but about personal vengeance. His desire to confront Bucky is rooted in years of unresolved trauma and anger, giving him a powerful emotional motivation that people can relate to on a visceral level. While Tony's decision to take up arms against Steve and Bucky can be seen as morally wrong, it is understandable. His personal vendetta against Bucky clouds his ability to see the bigger picture, and this shift in Tony's character makes his side of the debate feel less about politics and more about personal loss. This emotional turn also significantly impacted the viewer's perception of the conflict.
This isn't going to change what happened.
I don't care. He killed my mom.
Before the revelation, I am pretty sure many people were inclined to support Captain America's side, seeing his rejection of the Accords as a defense of freedom and ethical responsibility. But after the scene where Tony learns of his parents' deaths, many people found themselves sympathizing with Tony, if not condoning his actions. His pain became the emotional core of the film, and it was difficult for many viewers to ignore the gravity of his loss. Despite the fact that Tony's side is ultimately driven by revenge, many people began to empathize with his desire for justice and closure. What is most striking about this moment in Civil War is that it keeps the question of who was right or wrong in the debate unresolved. Prior to the reveal, the argument over the Sokovia Accords was largely framed in terms of liberty versus control. After the reveal, however, the battle becomes deeply personal.
It wasn't him, Tony. Hydra had control of his mind. Move! It wasn't him!
Tony's emotional reaction to Bucky's actions complicates the moral underpinnings of the Civil War, making it less about government oversight and more about individual justice and revenge. This nuance ensures that the debate between Captain America and Iron Man is not easily settled, and fans continue to argue over the merits of each side. While Captain America remains morally justified in his rejection of the Accords, Tony Stark's pain humanizes his side of the argument, making it difficult for people to simply label him as the wrong one. The film leaves the question of who was truly right open-ended, allowing fans to decide who they believe was in the right. While Steve Rogers was wrong in hiding the truth about the death of Tony's parents from him, he is still right when it comes to the Accords. This scene made you choose sides on a different matter than the Accords.